It is a pleasure to be here with you, James, today, and with all of our listeners and attendees, and hopefully participants as we talk about the UK growth opportunity. And we thought we'd focus in particularly on AI-driven digital strategies for exporters. So for U.S. companies looking to grow their business, grow their sales in the U.K., how to use digital strategies to do that. And notably that the U.K. is such a good growth opportunity in the current environment. So let me do some quick introductions. Hopefully you can all see my screen okay. Hold on, here we go. There. So quick introductions just to say hello. I'm really pleased to be here today with James. James is the director of the E-commerce Solutions Center. He's based in Washington, Tacoma, Washington State, that is, and has a wealth of information, background, experience, expertise in the digital world, the e-commerce, but also in what the U.S. Department of Commerce and the ITA has. So the commercial service, what they can offer. I'm going to let James really expand a bit on that and introduce himself to you as well. So my name is Susanna, and I'm Chief Content Officer at IBT Online. IBT Online, what is it? Who are we? Basically, we are what's known as a full stack digital marketing agency. So what does that mean? It means we create websites, we do e-commerce, we do digital marketing, and at the moment we are up to our ears or up to our eyeballs in AI. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that as well. We are a U.S. company based in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, but we have offices in various places, including in the U.K. And in fact, a lot of our design and e-commerce teams are based in the U.K. If you want to learn more, there's lots on our website that you could browse through, including lots of resources. We are very, very proud and pleased to be a strategic partner with the U.S. Commercial Service, and notably for e-commerce, which is fantastic and lots of fun. Gives us a really great window on some of the issues facing U.S. exporters, in particular for international markets as well as their domestic markets. So those are some of the things that we're doing today and looking at. We've divided up today's presentation into four sort of buckets, four categories. I was going to ask James to go through a little bit the U.S. Commercial Service offerings and tell you a little bit about them, and then also about the UK in particular from the administration's point of view. What are they looking at as the main topics? What are they looking at as the main clusters and sectors? After that, I was going to take over the microphone and talk a bit more about AI and digital marketing, what that means. But I think the good news is it's incredibly empowering for small mid-cap companies looking to export. There's so many tools out there that you can now use to help really reach, engage with your prospective buyers with any lead generation. And then focus more particularly about the UK and some strategies there. And I've called that buyer persona and localization. The two are interwoven really when you're looking at any kind of digital strategy, marketing strategy for lead generation. And then at the close, just some action plans, some takeaways, and we've left some time for questions as well. So with that, I thought, James, would tell us a little bit about the U.S. Commercial Service and the e-commerce side, the e-commerce solution centers, please.
Thank you, Susanna. Thanks for having me on today. It's always a pleasure to come on and talk all things e-commerce with you. And IBT is just a wonderful company to work with as a strategic partner with the ITA. Today's presentation will hopefully be educational and informative to everybody. I want to talk a little bit about the ITA, and just in case folks out there aren't familiar with our organization. Next slide, please. Our organization, federal government entity that falls under the U.S. Department of Commerce, we help businesses to sell more overseas. Which is going to be very relevant to this presentation as I start presenting on facts and statistics to hopefully whet your appetites for selling to the UK market, and you start wondering who can help me with this, who can provide information and resources. Well, that's our organization through our local trade specialists, provide export counseling, market intelligence, matchmaking services, perhaps in the UK even, and commercial diplomacy for those higher level type issues. Next slide, please. So the premise of all of my presentations are to support the fact that e-commerce as a sales channel is growing for businesses and will continue to grow as economies fluctuate here in times that are going through steady and unsteady times. Next slide, please. What are the priority sectors, the industries that we're looking to help you export to the UK with? What are some good pairings there that you can look to piggyback on? Specifically, the US UK economic prosperity deal that was recently signed earlier this year in June. If you're in the digital networking technologies, there's lots of opportunities for you to sell to the UK market. Also, in the energy and critical minerals, biofuels specifically, there's a lot of opportunities for those companies out there to sell to the UK and some preferential trade deals, lower or no tariffs, for example, for those products going to the UK. And then in the manufacturing sectors, aerospace and defense, as well as automotive sectors, also will see preferential treatment with trade with the UK. Next slide, please. So what are we looking at when it comes to the United Kingdom and its trade partners? Well, broadly, it trades mostly with Europe, inter-Europe trade, excuse me, followed by us in the Americas and Latin America, the Asia Pacific region, Middle East, followed by Africa. And then specifically, those countries from those regions, the biggest trade partners are Germany, obviously, because it's a regional hub for distribution and warehousing, followed by China, and the other part of that would be India for the Asia Pac region there, outside of us in the US, being a major trade partner with the UK. And the list goes on with the other countries there. What are the goods that are being imported to the UK? Well, imports and exports are fairly similar there. We've got a lot of cars being imported, automotives, also mechanical generators are being exported from that market along with the UK market, along with automotives. So there's a lot of cross-border trade of products and prime ingredients coming in, as well as products going out to inter-European trade. Next slide, please. Uh, so what does the services sector look like between the US and United Kingdom? Well, the US is the main trade partner when it comes to trade in services. And it comes down to the services being travel, financial services, as well as subscription services and other business services, as you can see there up at the top of the chart. Next slide, please. And what does the United Kingdom biofuel production and consumption look like? What's that market look like? Well, we can see in the chart in the top left there, we can see biofuel production in the UK increasing. And I recently read that they're suddenly decreasing production in the UK. Consumption is still going up. And so there's going to be a vacuum of biofuels, bioethanols in the UK that are going to need to be imported, that are going to see some great opportunities for US exporters in this sector. Next slide, please. So how do you focus on getting your products to the UK market? The same way you would to sell internationally in general. And that's just making sure that you understand the 5 basic steps to a digital strategy. Underscoring your objectives for your website. Are you selling? Are you informing to lead to a sell? Have you done search engine optimization and internationalization to your website? Have you chosen an e-commerce sales channel? And are you even looking at your website analytics to establish key performance indicators in your digital strategy? Next slide, please. So focusing in on the second step, search engine optimization and internationalization, what does that come down to? Well, first of all, you want to focus on search engine optimization, because if your website can't be found, all the work you do for internationalization will be for naught. So you want to knock search engine optimization out of the way, so that you know your website is functioning properly and is seen as it should be seen by web crawlers. Following that, you need to make it clear on your website that you're open for international sales, and that you're also continually adding new content to your website, not only for the consumers, but for the keywords and backlinks that this new content represents for those search engines, that search engine optimization that you're trying to continually improve. And then always look at your website analytics to make sure that you can see the inputs and outputs are functioning as they should be for your website. Next slide, please. We have a service within the US Commercial Service, a paid service, the WGR Gap Analysis Service, that looks at your website search engine optimization and website internationalization in one convenient report. And it provides both technical and business process improvement recommendations to help you increase your online overseas sales. We deliver this report to you, read through the entire report to make sure you understand what is important, what's not so important, as well as follow-on recommendations and service provider referrals. So if you're interested in one of these services, reach out to one of your local trade specialists here at the U.S. Commercial Service, at a local CS Export Assistance Center there, perhaps even a local SBA, SBDC might even have access to a trade specialist, and get signed up for one of these services today. Next slide, please. Some resources to help you get started focused on the UK market here. We have a UK European market report, an e-commerce report here from the e-commerce frontline library. So while you're reading up on how to best sell into the UK market, you can also look to these examples as search engine optimization examples of how to structure your own website and your own content in a way that'll boost your website search score. Next slide, please. We also have pre-recorded webinars and live streams, just like this one, available on our Grow Your Exports page, as well as on IBT Online's own website. And we'll also be looking forward to our next 2026, starting here in October for us, our next series. Starting again for what is it, Susanna? This is going to be the third year for
Third
our
year.
Grow Your Export series.
Third year.
So we'll continue that on and post some new ones as we get them ready to promote here. Next slide, please. We also have e-commerce research available for you out there. In case you were just wondering about the UK market in general and those sales, we have the e-commerce specific reports out of the country commercial guides, convenient for you here on this resource. Next slide, please. And we also have an e-commerce business service provider directory. So this is our follow-on resource that we provide explanation and a walkthrough to you on after doing the WGR gap analysis service for SEO. when you're wondering who's going to fix my website, who's going to implement those recommendations, those wonderful recommendations that you recommended I implement, who's going to do that? It's these service providers here in the digital marketing, cybersecurity, and e-commerce logistics and other areas that can help you with that, to include our generous host here, IBT Online, who's also a member of this e-commerce business service provider directory. Next slide,
Thank you.
please. Wrapping up here, just to reinforce that first overview slide of the International Trade Administration, U.S. Commercial Service, and how my organization can help you export more to the United Kingdom, here's the rest of our services that we have available to U.S. exporters to help them sell more overseas. Everything from matchmaking services to due diligence checks to trade show assistance to advocacy center assistance, to on up to commercial diplomacy, as well as global industry teams and a new rural export center for rural U.S. companies looking to sell overseas. And with that, that brings me to the end of our plethora of resources for exporters out there. Thank you, Susanna, for letting me cover all of that, as well as a little bit of information on the UK market there to hopefully get some interest out there in some US exporters who are watching this and maybe on the fence of whether or not they could sell their products or have opportunities in the UK market. Hopefully, this nudges them a little bit closer to the that point of saying, yes, I can do this. I can sell to the UK market. So thank you, Susanna.
Thank you, James. I just wanted to ask everyone, have you already done work? Have you taken advantage of all those services from the U.S. Commercial Service? Have you had a gold key or partner search or market search or whatever? And just let you know, there's quite a few of some of you who are still thinking about it, and there's quite a few who have taken those services with, but not often. Excuse me. I'm gonna end that bowl. Excuse me. James, we said we'd do questions at the end. There's a quick question that's come in now, which is, if I want to do any of these, do I contact my local small business administration or do I contact you guys at US Commercial Service?
Well, there's no wrong door in government. So whoever you
Uh-huh.
reach out to on the economic development side, be that the local chambers of commerce, small business development organizations, they should all be familiar with our organization and how we can help them help you sell more overseas. So just asking the question to any one of those economic developers to get started, and then specifically getting a hold of your most local, immediate trade specialist there in your state, which we have presence in every state. Usually we're co-located with the SBA or the small business development centers somewhere in the vicinity there. So just ask around and you can get a hold of us and a hold of your local trade specialist to get started on this service today.
Ask and you shall find. Fantastic. We'll save the rest of the questions for afterwards. Um, I wanted to just sort of start by talking a little bit about some tools that are really great for U.S. exporters today, whether the UK market or other markets. But I'm focused as well on the UK markets as well. Just stepping back a second, if I take a bigger view, a broader approach, there's some trends that are happening in the digital world. They tend to be strangely converging trends. There's both, it feels different, there's both personalization and growing internet involvement at the same time. So, even e-commerce now, people want a personalized view. They don't want something static. Data privacy and security is a big one. And of course, the big topic of AI. So, let's dive into a few of those. I wanted to note, particularly as James heads up the e-commerce solutions center, I wanted to just do a tiny focus on e-commerce E-commerce is not just a US phenomenon. If you think it's just you and Amazon, no, it is worldwide. In fact, the US represents just 12% of all the shoppers in the world. And this very long graph that you can see, the big white bar is the worldwide average. The blue arrow is the USA. So we're quite a bit above the worldwide average. And the red arrow is the UK. So the UK shops more online than the US. How about that? They are absolute shoppers. And you say, well, I'm a manufacturer, so this this is all B2C stuff. It doesn't really apply. No, it applies to B2B. In fact, B2B is more or less 3 times the size of B2C. This is a slide I've actually stolen from James. I hope you don't mind. But I just thought it was really a great slide, which shows the extent of B2B across the world as well in e-commerce. And if you'll see, the UK is right up there as well, with a high level of e-commerce. And again, what kind of e-commerce for exporters, for B2B companies? A lot of what we're seeing is something called request a quote or a cart builder. So these are, for us, if you're designing them, if you're creating these websites, these are e-commerce enabled websites. They allow a prospective client to go onto your website and pick and choose what they want and put them in a cart and say, request a quote. It doesn't end with a payment gateway or a logistic partner. It ends with request a quote. This is basically a sales qualified lead, which is then sent to your company, to your salesman, who can then say, now I can pick up the phone. And I'm not spamming, I'm not cold calling, I'm phoning someone who's actually interested in having this. And that's why companies, B2B companies, really like this build an order builder or request a quote e-commerce functionality. I just wanted to give that as a little segue into some of the things. Now, the other big trend that I wanted to highlight, obviously, was AI. And it's normal to me, it's very logical to me that the internet is a natural progression that we go towards AI. The internet is built on a lot of algorithms, on AI, essentially. And digital marketing is built on AI. The paradigm shift, the new thing is this generative AI, these LLMs. And these are being increasingly built out and integrated into digital marketing. And they allow digital marketeers to do amazing things like predictive and analytics, very personalized email segmentations, etc. So they're really a very strong tool for that. And just as an example of what I mean by that, it was a logical step. I guess the take up of ChatGPT is proof to me how ready the market, the internet world was to have something like generative AI. We all know those, I'm sure you've all seen, 5 days after ChatGPT was launched, it was already over a million. It reached a billion after a year, whereas it took Instagram, Anyway, so all these numbers, it says, how strong that take up is. The point I want to make now for you, if you're looking at export, is that just 15% of ChatGPT users are based in the USA. So ChatGPT is taken up more outside the USA than inside the USA. And that's important. It's important to figure out for your digital strategy what that means. So again, you'll get a copy of the slide deck. So don't worry about all these graphs and numbers, but I think they're just very telling. If you look on the right-hand side of the slide, that's the top 10 website by use worldwide for 3 months in sort of up till February 2024. So Google is obviously the big elephant, 84 billion visits a month. No sign of chat at that point. 1 year later, chat is in position number 8. By February 2025, chat is the 8th biggest or highest level of searches in the world. Hot off the press, July 2025, ChatGPT is number 5 with over 5 billion visits per month. And as I said, only 15% of that is in the USA. I'm making all these numbers just to try and really emphasize this point. You need to think about AI and how that's affecting your exports, your brand, your digital marketing, your sales. So I'm going to leave you with just, on this. We could have a whole other webinar just on this, but let's just some questions you might want to ask yourself if for my sales and marketing team. Are they all AI savvy? Do they know what they're doing? What tools are best for my company? There's now thousands of different AI tools to use. Which one should I choose? How do I evaluate them? How do I know which ones to use? How do I price them? Some of them are very, very expensive, especially in digital marketing. What else do I need to change my tech stack? So here's some questions that you might want to ask your sales team and others. So there we go. Let me now move on to the UK and the UK market, and I'm going to focus on two things, which will help you figure out your strategies for hitting the UK market and getting success in lead generation in the UK market. Before I do that, I thought I'd have another poll just to ask you all, are you already doing business in the UK? It's going to help me understand as well where to pitch what I'm talking about. So are you online? Are you offline? Are you with a local partner? Are you thinking about it? Some of you are thinking about it. The majority are with a local partner. So that would be with a distributor, I'm presuming, like an in-market distributor or an agent. There's a few of you which are online only, but very few. And pretty well nobody is online and via local partner. But the majority are with a local partner. Thank you. I'm going to end that poll, and let's dive into the UK market. Let me find my cursor. Again, lots of stats here for this, but I wanted to just say the UK market is pretty well 70 million people. It's a big market, okay? 70 million people. Of that, more than 100%, 88 million mobile phones. So, 127% of the population have a mobile phone. And I looked this up. 97% of that are smartphones. In other words, many people have 2 smartphones. And that means that the UK population can access the internet when they want, on the tube, in the bus, whatever, all the time. And you'll see that mobile enablement, design responsiveness is important. 98% of the population are using the internet. That staggers me. That means there's no 2-year-olds are using the internet. But it does mean that the internet is very, very pervasive. And as you can see, the average time spent online in the UK is over 5.5 hours. So, 68 million people in the UK out of 70 million are online for 5.5 hours. And almost all of them are online on social media. Looking up the numbers, it looks like they spend about half that 5.5 hours on social media. These are going to be very important for you when you start thinking about how you reach out, engage, think about people, talk to agents, talk to distributors, and so on. All right, that's the sort of background picture. This is sort of, up here, digital picture. I wanted then to talk about your digital strategy. And the first thing you want to look at in any digital strategy are your goals. So, what do I want to achieve? What am I doing this for? Because these things are expensive. So what am I doing this for? Do I want to generate sales? Do I want to look at the market, evaluate competitors, just grow my brand awareness globally, get distributors? What is it? And prioritize those things, because that will decide which and how you roll out your strategy for that. And whichever of these, I've put in 6 here, strategies that or priorities that you have. One of the other things, once you've figured out that priority, the next thing you need to do is figure out your buyer persona. Buyer persona is sort of a fictional character, but it's a person. It's not the company you're trying to get to buy. It's the person within the company. So it is the product, you know, operator, or the managing director, or the head of sales, or the head of operations. It's that person who actually signs the check and says, yes, I want that product. That's your buyer persona. And probably the best way to figure it out is to get your sales and marketing team around a table, give them all a good cup of coffee, and say, right, who do you sell to? Are they male, female? How old are they? Where are they online? And you want to figure out that buyer persona and then figure out their buyer's journey. How do they figure out what to buy next? And I've included a little slide here, a sort of picture here of L'Oreal, the hair care company. Well, that is their picture of who and they've chosen that picture because they know who their buyer personas are. Their biggest single buyer personas are women with great hair. So that's who they put on their cover for their US website. And you got to figure out, again, some questions you can ask yourself. How does my UK buyer persona find me? How do they engage with me? Are they on LinkedIn or WhatsApp? Do they go to Facebook or Instagram? Or are they a TikToker? Where are they? Who are they? And one of the reasons why you want to find this out is because you will then be able to understand how they react and what they do. For example, if you're, this slide dates from a while, as you can see, but I find it just so telling that I've kept it. On the one side, same moment, same company, same ad, except one's in Portuguese, one's in English. Different results on a Facebook ad for a B2B company. Over 1,200 engagements in the UK. Pretty good going. 20,450 in Brazil. What does that tell you about the buyer personas in that market? You need to understand how they react to then understand what content they react to and how best to deliver it and what it means for your sales channel. How many of those 20,450 convert to a sales, or how many of those 1,200 in the UK convert to sales? So that's understanding your buyer persona and their journey throughout. So far we've discovered buyer persona, buyer's journey, and then most of all, the priorities you've set at the very start. Once you've set those priorities, you'll also want to look at the return on investment. And the return on investment, there are lots of different ways that you can figure it out. But the important part is to review it continuously and put a monetary value on each aspect of it. The wonderful thing about an online world and the digital strategy is that it's all about your top line and you can monetize it. Everything you do online, your website, your social media, whatever it is, your avatars, your AI-powered videos are all about generating sales. So that's why the return on investment is so important right from the start. Right, okay. For the UK, like for any market that you're targeting, you are going to have a very well-defined targeted digital strategy. And I've listed 5 things that you're going to have, 5 sort of buckets that are going to interact with each other as you roll out your sales and marketing strategy. The first is to work your CRM, your client relationship management database, your database of companies, of potentials, and so on. The next is a website. The next is social media. So again, those two go hand in glove. You don't have a website without social media. You don't have a social media without a landing page without a website. Imagery and videos I put as a separate item because in today's world, the video and imagery part is so crucial. We're moving away from static websites. We're moving away from static information and towards visual information. People do not want to read things on websites. They want to skim the titles and receive shown pictures. Same thing for social media. So, this imagery and videos is now a separate component, not a subsector of your strategy. And then finally, easy contact and how to contact, and we'll get on to that. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the database because, again, I think it's so specific to each company that I don't want to sort of, drag you into it. So I thought I'd just put together on one slide some questions, again, that you might be asking your team. So, do I have a UK database? Is the CRM up to date? Does it exist? Can I segment it? Can I extract it and look at it? And how do I then segment my database? Segmenting a database for a marketeer is basically saying, where is that person, where is that contact on that buyer's journey? And are they the buyer persona that I want to target? So 2 questions. Are they the right person who signs the check, the right buyer persona? And 2, where are they on that journey, and how do I get them to move into that final, yes, I want to buy your stuff on that journey? So those are all the big questions that you might want to ask. I've listed some of the top CRMs that many of you, I'm sure, have, like Salesforce, Zoho, SAP, really fantastic on them, I think. And I wanted to highlight as well, we're a partner for HubSpot, and HubSpot is one of the largest and fastest growing CRM and digital marketing platforms that you might want to look into if you have questions. Let me know. So we've looked at your database. Remember those priorities I said at the beginning, your database. Let's look now at what you need in terms of a website. And basically what you'll need in terms of a website is, you'll need a UK website. You will need a website that, as James was saying earlier, allows you to be found, allows you to be understood, allows you to be, do business with. Otherwise, all that work, you're invisible. So, it's about getting that buyer, knowing that buyer persona, and then respecting that buyer persona. Knowing that buyer persona and saying, that buyer persona goes to those kind of websites, wants to see this, has that, and so on. So a localized website. A localized website is not about language. It's much more technical than that. It's about domain names and hreflangs and where it's hosted and all those kind of things. So it is a separate website from your .com. And I put a city example here of I have a colleague in Massachusetts. She has a dog. The dog always barks during webinars. So I asked her, okay, Google squeakless dog toys based in Massachusetts. And she gets things like All for Paws, Amazon.com, Glad Dogs Nation, etc. Those are relevant for her based in Massachusetts, based in US keywords, based in her previous sales, based in .com, all kinds of aspects and that the algorithms pick up on. I'm sitting in London. I have a dog that barks too. I do Google squeakless dog toys. I get very different results. I get ones that Google thinks are relevant for me in the UK. So different languages, different websites, different things. So same search engine, Google, same keywords, squeakless dog toys, different results depending on how relevant or not Google thinks that is. So if you think that your website, your .com based in Idaho is relevant for UK, it's unlikely to be. If you cannot do a website, if a website is like way beyond at the moment, at least think about, in that case, having a dedicated landing page. The reason is that any kind of thing that you're putting out there in the UK, you need it to be anchored to something. You need it to have a trampoline, that's a springboard, if you like. A landing page is a dedicated page on your existing website. If you put something in LinkedIn, let's say you say, "Hi, LinkedIn, I'm joining this," or "I'm joining this new community in LinkedIn, and check out what I want to do in the UK. I want to find a distributor in the UK. Check this out," and you will redirect people to that landing page, and that landing page is dedicated to your UK efforts. It says what you want to do in the UK. It's something that's easily changeable as you evolve. You say, I want to find a distributor. Well, I found a master distributor. I'm looking for some, etc. So it changes over time. So here again on this slide are some thoughts you might want to have about what it would look like what a dedicated landing page might look like, as opposed to a website. And again, in terms of the AI tools that are now available, really incredibly empowering tools now that allow webmasters and marketeers to do really great things with your website and make it really amplify its effect, whether that's for user experience, or even country specific optimization, SEO optimization or GEO, which I'll talk about in a second. And the real-time translation tools are finally good enough to actually be used, although perhaps you don't need them for the UK. Another example of just a UK, so a UK centric social media. So you've got a UK centric website, or if you don't want to, then at least a UK centric landing page. Now you want to have a UK centric social media approach. And again, this is going to be visual, but it's going to be about building brand awareness over time. And its main focus is probably going to be about generating leads or generating interest for distributors. I wanted to highlight this image of a client of ours. It's actually a UK client. We do their US marketing. But what's interesting to me, just visually, if you look at their US website, which on the left-hand side of your slide, you can tell instantly it's a US website because it's in Indianapolis. They're on a motor. This is a company that does stuff for motorways. They're on a motorway. It's Indianapolis. They're huge FedEx trucks. There's trucks. There's U.S. style trucks. It looks American. On the right-hand side, immediately there's something a bit quirky. They're driving on the left-hand side of the road. They're in the UK. So again, a very localized social media approach helps you just instantly understand where you are and how you are looking into your market. So anyone falling on that, for example, the image on the right, subconsciously knows that they're in the UK. If you fall on the website, if you get on the social media post on the left-hand side, you instantly know that you're in the USA, and that brings a sort of, you really got only 2 seconds to build any trust. That brings that instant trust you need to have the prospective buyer continue to engage with you. As many of you are looking at distributors, I wanted to highlight another possibility, which is that quite a few of our clients do as well, is building out a UK, or in this case, actually, it's a European one. This is a company in New York, a US company. We built a European website for them, actually, and they are very careful of their brand. And they want their distributors to focus on stuff distributors do, like logistics, after sales, paperwork, helping individual clients around there. They don't believe that their distributors are very good at marketing. So they want to take, and especially portraying their brand. So Amazon bring it all in-house and monitor it very closely. So we, for example, do all the online digital marketing for Amazon and for all of their distributors. And the objective is to generate leads for the distributors. So we generate leads for the Amazon, and then the distributors pick it up and say, yes, we can sell this Amazon product for you. Here you go. So again, a lot of you are looking at distributors. This is quite an interesting way and a thought. Don't let your distributors just take over your assets. Think carefully about what your distributors are good at and whether they should be in charge of your brand or not. I mentioned hold on, sorry. I mentioned imagery, video, and that how important this is. it's really incredibly important for today's market. It shows, I think there's some amazing statistic like you pick up a video, an image, sort of 60,000 times faster than a word, if that's possible. It's really incredibly important in today's world, in today's digital marketing world, to have better, good quality imagery and such. Now, just skipping along, we talked a little bit about SEO and search engine optimization. James also mentioned it when I gave that example about the squeak with dog toys. That's also about keywords and search engine optimization, and how to optimize your website. There's a lot of impact that AI is having on your search engine optimization strategies. If you remember those numbers I gave you in the beginning about ChatGPT, people are searching via ChatGPT, and the way people search, the way that they ask questions, the answers given, and the value that people put on those responses from chat differ. So what you'll find increasingly is that people are using Google for like, hi, what time is my train? Is the supermarket open? But for chat, they're saying, does this hydraulic pump integrate well in my factory? So it's a much more how-to and much more complex questions that are being asked at chat. And the responses from chat are therefore higher value, given a higher premium than the ones by Google very often. So we're seeing a lot of companies suddenly realize that their Google natural and even organic are declining, but they are beginning to see some pickup from Chat or Claude or Perplexity and so on, from their analytics. And how it in fact impacts your strategy is really important then. Again, I can give you a lot of, this is a subject of a whole other webinar, but just in one or two slides, just making sure that your digital is really aligned so that, ChatGPT does pull you out, does say this is a good response to give. So much longer tail keywords, much longer to sort of, question and answer focus. For that, if you want, this is also called, SEO is search engine optimization. This is called GEO, generative engine optimization, is the typical word being used from it. And it's kind of differs quite a bit. If you want to find more, there's a ton of stuff on our blog section of our resources about GEO and what it means for your data, for your digital presence, and so on. So have a look at that. And I've also included a slide, just sort of a one capture slide about AI for exporters in general. And then, how it can, how the different parts of it that you could use and how it's being identified for, say, real-time analytics, for scalable content, and so on. So when you're looking at developing content for the UK market, for example, using parts of AI, the way it's done, obviously not letting it have a free hand, human oversight always, but nevertheless using these tools to empower you for lead generation is very helpful. At the end of that cycle, remember we talked in the beginning about setting your priorities and your return on investment, then discovering your buyer persona, their buyer's journey, making sure that you have the right assets in there, and that's your databases, your website or landing page, your social media, your imagery, and then again, your easy to get in contact. At the end of that cycle, you go back, in a sense, and restart the whole thing again, and look again at your CRM. Get back into it. Have this regular review of your databases. You've put out some media. You've created a landing base. You've put out some digital marketing. What effect has it had? Who are the new leads? How are they being nurtured? How are you speaking to them? Are they connecting to you in the way you thought they would? Or are they in fact doing something else? If so, you need to pivot. And then it's this segmentation of your leads into a hot lead or a sort of someone still at the very much awareness stage, and then how do you nurture them? How are you sharing content with them? So there you go. That's sort of the main aspects I wanted to talk about for that. Perhaps I don't know, let's launch another poll while I take a sip of water. If you want to learn more about AI empowered digital marketing, let us know, and we're happy to send you some blogs or point you in the direction of some assets which will get you started on that. And we can do that. And sort of thank you for your enthusiasm on that one. Yes, it's a really great topic, and especially about the big demand is for avatars and AI generated videos. By the way, I'm gonna end that poll, and let's start talking about let's start wrapping up with some easy wins, some takeaways, what I've called action plans. Sorry, I'm gonna close that poll. For that. So let's talk about that. I guess my first point was really just sort of where, from a digital point of view, from someone who's looking on the web, what we see coming down the pipe in a very forceful way is this magnitude of digital first sales. People don't want to have an email in random. They don't want to be cold calls. You don't want to buy, cold databases. They don't. That burns your leads. What you want to have is someone who, your prospective buyers want to find you, check you out. So you need to be found. You need to answer their pain points. You need to be relevant to them. You need to be of value to them. Brand leadership for them. And they want to do it on the platforms that they want to do it on. LinkedIn, websites, WhatsApp, TikTok, whatever the buyer's journey is, they're going to stick to it. You need to be there. You can't say, oh, I don't want that. No, you need to be where they are. And that buyer persona can shift to different markets. I guess, and so the question of, why do I need online business tools again? And we looked at that slide for the UK with 70 million people, and so 93% of them are online for most of their working day. So if you're a small mid-cap company in the US and you want to export, this is good news for you. You can say, I know where my clients are, I know where my prospects are. They're online. I know how to reach them. I reach them doing digital marketing and social media. So that's, I think, the good news on that. Make sure that your digital assets are working hard for you in that case. Here's some questions again that you might want to ask yourself. Are your digital tools ready? Are they good? When was the last time you really looked at your website? Is it relevant? And if you're going to use it as an export tool, is it relevant for your export audience? Remember James saying in the beginning, if you sell to the world, say it. Make sure that people understand that you are international. Are you mobile enabled? Do you have great imagery? Is it high resolution? Great user experience, all those. And are you ready for AI? Have you integrated the thought that ChatGPT is now the 5th largest, most sought search URL in the world? I guess the other takeaway that I'd like to highlight is just how, there you go, that your digital marketing combined with some kind of springboard, like a website, like a dedicated website, or at least the landing page, is your strongest sales rep, your best sales rep. And from our point of view, it's also the best tool that you can give your in-market partner, your local distributor, because that allows them to get on with their business, and you've given them the marketing tools they need to show your brand off very well. So these are, for example, these are some clients of ours, Richardson Seating, made in the USA, shipped globally. That's the front tag of their UK website. You'll notice well that it's clearly a UK website. It has the right .co.uk and so worth looking at. Just an overall slide to show you some of the AI-infused human oversight, AI empowerment tools that are making their way at the moment. There is just a vast, vast amount of them, depending on where and your budget and so on. And digital marketing companies like IBT Online, we are just uh, uh, lining up our toolkit and continuously evaluating them as they move and making sure that they bring value to our clients and to the work that we do. You know, I've listed here some questions on it. People do not, they want more and more focus. They don't want more of just everything. They want more of what's correct. There's a lot of saturation in this market. Some easy wins for you internationally. Um, your URLs, your .com in the US is great. One of the best ways to be found in international markets is to have the top level country domain name. In the UK, that is .co.uk. Bit weird. .co.uk, US exporter.co.uk is the URL for the UK that you want to have. And then some other things, as I was saying for Richard sitting there, made in the USA, sold globally, sold worldwide, making getting in touch really easy. And again, the imagery, the importance of imagery. Um, I guess lastly, before we go on, um, I get back to sort of just a general question of making sure that the AI is well suited to your sales and marketing funnel, that you're using it in all of your marketing, that you are understanding how it can be an empowerment and how you can use it better for your teams. And some things that, for your sales and marketing team, it's an enormous empowerment. And what I like to say as well is, just think about your websites or your digital marketing almost like a person. Bring them into your sales and marketing team meetings. Normally, most companies have at least once a week big meeting like that, and think, okay, we're going to a trade show. What effect does that have on our websites? What effect does that have on digital marketing? We want to find a distributor in the UK. What should we do about that for our websites? What should we do about that on our marketing? So make sure that you're integrating your digital assets, your digital toolkit into your sales and marketing at every step. I wanted to leave you also with some, learning tools. For that, obviously, one of the best ones is the U.S. Department of Commerce and the E-commerce Solutions Center for that, and you can reach out and get a lot of downloadables for free and huge resources for free. We also have resources for free on our IBT Online site. If you go to the resources section, I've included the YouTube channels, and I personally think that HubSpot is one of the best ones for digital marketing. A lot of them are for free at the entry level side. And then for those of us who still like books, there's just some really interesting books going at the moment. Just really interesting ones. The Age of AI, for example, is a real page turner. Okay, with that, we have a few minutes left for questions. And there's just two questions that have come in, which is perfect. We've just got 2 minutes left. One for you, James, which is for e-commerce. Are there particular, James, you highlighted sectors within the UK. Are there particular markets that the US administration are particularly looking at as well for e-commerce?
All markets,
Oh,
yes,
markets.
globally. I call out the UK in particular because of the recent trade deal that got approved, and because that's the theme of today's webinar. So,
Yeah.
but there
Yeah.
are many other markets out there that we are focused on helping exporters export to. So don't think that we rule out any other one simply because we're focused on the UK today.
Okay. And then a question for me, which is the best platform in the UK for B2B sales? And I think it depends on each company, obviously, but I would say off the bat, LinkedIn. The UK, like many markets, uses LinkedIn as a sales route to engage and identify, particularly for B2B. So it's not just about looking for a job, it's also about B2B, networking, nurturing, and showing thought leadership. If you're doing advertising on LinkedIn, it is generally more expensive than like a Facebook or whatever, and the UK is quite an expensive market, but you can really, really laser focus your LinkedIn, the Sales Navigator, and so on. You can really focus it and say exactly that person there. So once you identify that buyer persona, you can absolutely get a hold of him via LinkedIn and send him some thoughts, send him or her some thoughts. We are just absolutely on the hour. There's a few more questions coming in, but we will reply to you by email separately as we want to keep this to our strict 1 hour. I wanted to give James a big shout out. Thank you so much, James, for your time, for helping to organize, for your support, and for being the director of the E-commerce Solutions Center, an enormous asset and help for U.S. companies and exporters at the U.S. Department of Commerce. Thank you very much, and thank you all for joining us today. We hope to see you at our next webinar or face-to-face. If you're going to a trade show or a visit or going to the UK, let us know. We'll come by and stop in and say hi, have a cup of tea together. Thank you all very much, and see you in the next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, James. Bye.
Thank you, Susanna.